This is an AI-generated discourse.
So, what if our online classrooms were built on care instead of just, code? That's really the core question we're digging into today. We're looking at Dr. Ayesha Perveen's review of the book Feminist Pedagogy for Teaching Online, which is this amazing collection of essays all aimed at completely reimagining our digital learning spaces.
The whole discussion really kicks off with this powerful idea from the scholar Bell Hooks, and it just sets the stage perfectly. Think about it. That one sentence throws down a major challenge. In a digital classroom, where we can all feel a little bit like disconnected squares on a screen, how do we make sure every single person is truly seen?
Okay, so let's set the scene, and it's a world we're all living in. Online learning isn't some side project anymore. It's a massive, rapidly growing, and incredibly innovative part of how we learn. It is everywhere.
But here's the thing. While the technology has been sprinting ahead, the conversations around it, they've been kind of narrow. The focus almost always lands on the nuts and bolts, the logistics of it all.
Yeah, words like these, they're all over the place. Efficiency, scalability, assessment. It's all about making the machine run better, bigger, and faster. We get really focused on the how in a very technical way. But the authors of this book, they're asking a totally different question. Right? In all this talk about metrics and design, where are the people? Where's the conversation about care, about fairness, about building learning communities that are actually just and equitable? This is the huge gap that this book is stepping in to fill. And this is where the book makes its entrance. Dr. Perveen actually calls it a critical intervention, which is a great way to put it. It's like a necessary reality check, a chorus of voices pushing back and saying, hey, wait a minute, there's more to this. So what does this big reimagining actually look like? Well, it's about rebuilding online learning from the ground up, using a totally different set of values. So instead of just efficiency, you get care. Instead of top-down design, you get collaboration and co-creation. It's a huge shift in what we prioritize. Now, the reviewer points to one word as the book's absolute greatest strength: praxis. And this is so important, because this book isn't just a bunch of lofty ideas. Praxis is that essential bridge between the theory and the action. It's all about, okay, how do I actually do this in my real live online classroom on Monday morning? So let's see how this all translates from theory into actual practice. The book is broken down into 4 key parts, and each one is just packed with real, concrete actions. Let's dive in. Okay, the first section goes right after the traditional classroom hierarchy. You know the one I'm talking about, the sage on the stage, where the instructor is the expert with all the knowledge. The goal here is to take that apart and build something way more collaborative, where everyone's expertise is valued. What's so amazing here is how simple changes can have such a huge effect. Think about a discussion board. Instead of just a place to drop an answer for the teacher, it becomes this living, breathing space where students build knowledge together. Or imagine watching a documentary at the same time as your whole class, sharing your reactions as they happen. It's all about intentionally designing for human connection. Part 2 goes even deeper. It's all about empowering students and using the classroom itself as a space to become more aware of the world we live in. One of the coolest tools they highlight is social annotation. Imagine a digital text where everyone, students and the instructor, can comment, ask questions, and debate right there in the margins together. It totally blows up the idea that there's only one right way to read something. It turns learning into this democratic process where everybody's voice matters. All right, the third section is about something so fundamental: humanizing the online experience. It's really a pushback against all those rigid, impersonal systems, arguing instead that we have to prioritize the well-being of every single student. And this is where it gets incredibly practical. Instead of these harsh one-size-fits-all rules about late assignments, the authors push for flexible policies built on trust. They even suggest things like building the course syllabus with the students on day 1 so it becomes a community agreement, not just a legal contract. It's a really powerful way to acknowledge that people have lives outside the screen. Now, for the final part, the book really zooms out to the biggest picture possible. It asks, how can the online classroom be a place where we actively question and even challenge the big systems of power and inequality in our society? And this is just a brilliant example of how teaching can be a form of activism. Hosting cryptoparties to teach students about digital privacy, using mapping software to show them how maps themselves can be tools of power, It's all about empowering students to be critical creators and users of technology, not just passive consumers. So with all these powerful and practical ideas out there, what's Dr. Praveen's final verdict? How impactful is this book really?
Well, her review is incredibly balanced. She absolutely celebrates the book's intense focus on action, on praxis, and its huge collection of practical tools. She also loves the diverse, global voices in it. But she also points out some limitations, like how it sometimes describes problems without fully tackling the huge structural barriers that teachers are up against, things like restrictive university policies or widespread digital surveillance.
But here's the bottom line. Despite those critiques, Dr. Praveen's final conclusion is crystal clear. She calls the book a vital resource, and not just for teachers, but for anyone and everyone involved in online education.
So where does all of this leave us? What's the final takeaway? At the end of the day, this book and the review of it are pointing us toward a future for online learning that's built on a completely different foundation.
The real call to action here is for a fundamental shift in our thinking. We've got to move beyond just asking, is this tool efficient? And start asking, what values does this practice serve? It's all about designing our digital spaces with ethical, inclusive, and truly transformative goals from the very start. And that brings us right back to where we started, to those words from bell hooks. This is the profound, necessary question that this whole discussion leaves us with. It's not just about getting people online. It's about building spaces where, once they get there, their full humanity is seen and heard and valued. And that, right there, is the work ahead of us.